always thought turning 40 would feel different. Instead, here I am, staring at commitment papers, while my family watches me like vultures circling their prey. Happy birthday to me, right? My name is Christine, and this morning I woke up thinking I'd be celebrating with the people I love most. The dining room of our suburban home was decorated with balloons and streamers, a setup that now feels more like a carefully arranged trap than a celebration. It's for your own good, honey, Van, my husband of 22 years says, with what he probably thinks is a concerned expression. We've all noticed the changes in your behavior since your grandmother passed. I look around the table at the faces I trusted most. Van, my sister Bella, my son Ethan, and my daughter Amara. Amara won't meet my eyes, and that tells me everything I need to know. Changes? I keep my voice steady, though my hands want to shake. Like what exactly? Bella leans forward, her designer bracelet catching the light. You've been secretive, Christine. Paranoid. Moving money around, changing lawyers. She glances at Van, who nods encouragingly. Mom! Ethan jumps in, his college sweater suddenly making him look younger than his 20 years. You've been talking about people watching you, about us plotting something. I almost laugh. Almost. Have I? You need help. Van places his hand over mine. I resist the urge to pull away. The facility is one of the best in the state. 30 days of observation, that's all we're asking. I pick up the papers, scanning them with deliberate slowness. The word involuntary commitment jumps out at me, along with various legal terms I understand better than they realize. And if I refuse? I ask, though I already know the answer. We have enough documentation of your erratic behavior, Bella says, pulling out a folder. The court will side with us. We're trying to do this the easy way. I notice Amara's slight flinch at her aunt's words. My 18-year-old daughter, always the sensitive one, always seeing more than she lets on. Documentation? I echo, keeping my tone curious rather than defensive. Van slides another paper across the table. Dr. Harrison has already signed his recommendation. He's concerned about your mental state. Dr. Harrison, a psychiatrist I've never met. How convenient. I see. I tap my fingers on the table, a habit I picked up from my grandmother. And this is all because you're worried about my mental health. Nothing to do with Grandma's estate? The tension in the room spikes. Bella's perfectly manicured nails dig into her palms. That's exactly what we mean, Ethan says quickly. You're always bringing up the estate, acting like we're after your money. Aren't you? Christine, Van's voice carries a warning. You're not helping your case. I look down at the papers again, then at my birthday cake sitting forgotten on the counter. 40 candles, not one of them lit. The irony doesn't escape me. Okay, I say quietly. Okay? Bella blinks, thrown off guard. I'll sign. I reach for the pen Van offers. But I want to pack a bag first, and I'd like a moment alone with Amara. They exchange glances, probably wondering if this is some kind of trick. It's not exactly. Of course, Van says finally. That's reasonable. Take your time. I stand up, and Amara follows me upstairs to my bedroom. As soon as the door closes, she bursts into tears. Mom, I'm so sorry. They said it was the only way to help you. I pull her into a hug, speaking softly near her ear. Listen carefully, sweetheart. In about 2 hours, they're going to realize I've signed these papers with my left hand. She pulls back, confused. But you're right-handed. Exactly. I wipe her tears with my thumb. I need you to promise me something. No matter what happens next, remember that I love you. And remember that sometimes people show you exactly who they are. You just have to be willing to see it. Mom, what are you? Promise me. She nods, still confused but trusting. I promise. I grab a small overnight bag and begin packing, making sure Amara sees me slip my grandmother's old journal inside. It's all for show. The important documents are already safe. When we return downstairs, I sign the papers with a flourish, watching their faces relax with relief. They think they've won. They think I'm broken, but my grandmother taught me better than that. The best revenge, she used to say, is letting your enemies think they've succeeded. I smile as Van leads me to the car, Bella clutching the invalid commitment papers like a trophy. In a few hours, everything will change, and I'll be ready. 2 hours later, I'm sitting in my lawyer's office while my phone buzzes nonstop with increasingly frantic messages from Van. I switch it to silent and focus on the memory that brought me here, the day everything started changing. Your grandmother's house is massive, Van had said 6 months ago, wandering through the Victorian mansion I'd just inherited. We could sell it, invest the money, think about our future. I remember how my fingers traced the mahogany banister, feeling the grooves my grandmother's hands had worn over decades. This is our future. She left it to me for a reason. That's when I first saw it, that flash of something ugly in his eyes. Mrs. Walton? I snap back to the present as Lillian, my lawyer, enters with a steaming cup of tea. Your family's lawyer just called. They're quite upset about the signatures. I accept the tea with a small smile. I imagine they are. Your grandmother would be proud, Lillian says, settling behind her desk. She always said you were the only one who paid attention. The memory surfaces instantly. Grandma in her garden, teaching me about her roses while Bella complained about the heat from the shade of the porch. Did you bring it? Lillian asks. I pull out the leather-bound journal I've kept hidden for months. Every conversation, every accidental comment about my mental state, every suspicious bank transfer, it's all here. Lillian flips through the pages, nodding. Your sister's been busy. 3 separate attempts to access your grandmother's accounts using old documents. Bella never thought I'd notice. She always underestimated me. I take a sip of tea, just like she underestimated Grandma. The phone buzzes again. This time, it's Ethan. I let it go to voicemail. Tell me about the night you found out, Lillian says, reaching for a legal pad. I close my eyes, remembering. 3 weeks ago, I was working late in Grandma's study. The house was quiet except for the grandfather clock's steady ticking. I was organizing papers when I heard voices from the garden. Mom's losing it, Ethan's voice drifted through the open window. She spends all her time here, talking about Grandma like she's still alive. Your mother's always been different, Van replied. But this inheritance situation, it's not healthy. The money's made her paranoid. What about the facility you mentioned? Bella's voice now, sharp with interest. I've been talking to a doctor. If we can prove she's unstable. I sat perfectly still, my heart pounding as their words sank in. Then I opened my drawer, pulled out this journal, and started writing. And they never knew you were there? Lillian asks, making notes. They never knew a lot of things. I pull out a USB drive. Like how Grandma installed security cameras throughout the house last year, or how every conversation in that garden was recorded. Lillian's eyebrows rise. Your grandmother was quite thorough. She knew them better than they knew themselves. I lean forward. The night before she died, she told me something I'll never forget. Christine, Grandma had said, her voice weak, but her eyes sharp as ever. They'll come for it all, you know, not just the money. They'll try to take your dignity, your sanity, everything they think you don't deserve. Why are you telling me this? She squeezed my hand. Because you're ready to hear it. Watch them carefully. Document everything. And when they show their true colors. She smiled. That clever smile I'd grown up trusting. Make sure you're ready. My phone buzzes again. Amara this time. I answer. Mom? Her voice trembles. Dad's furious. Aunt Bella's talking about getting different papers, having you arrested for fraud. Are you safe? Yes, I'm at Sarah's house. Mom, what's going to happen? I share a look with Lillian, who nods encouragingly. Justice, sweetheart. Finally, justice. After I hang up, Lillian starts laying out documents. Your grandmother's final gift, she says, revealing a stack of papers. Everything you need to protect yourself and the estate. She planned this for years. I think of my family, probably panicking in their perfectly orchestrated trap that's now falling apart. They thought I was the weak one, the easy target. They never understood that Grandma chose me for a reason. Ready? Lillian asks, pen poised. I open the journal to its final blank page. It's time to write the ending to this story. My way. Ready! The next morning, I wake up in my grandmother's house, my house now, to the sound of someone pounding on the front door. Through the security camera feed on my phone, I see Van and Bella standing on the porch, looking like they haven't slept. I take my time walking downstairs, remembering another morning not so long ago. "You're making a mistake," Bella had said, standing in this same foyer 3 months after the funeral. "Managing this estate is too much for one person. You need help." I'm doing fine," I'd replied, watching her eyes dart around the room, cataloging everything of value. "Fine?" She'd laughed. "You're here more than you're at your own home. Van says you barely sleep." "Van says a lot of things lately." Now I open the door, but leave the security chain in place. Van's face is red with anger. "What the hell are you playing at?" he demands. "Do you know how much trouble you're in?" "Good morning to you too," I say calmly. "I assume the hospital didn't accept those papers?" Bella pushes forward. "This isn't a game, Christine. You committed fraud." "Fraud?" I raise an eyebrow. "Like forging a psychiatrist's signature on commitment papers? Or should we talk about the 3 attempts to access Grandma's accounts with outdated power of attorney documents?" They both freeze. Bella's face goes pale. "How did you know about that?" I finish for her. "I know everything, Bella. Every conversation in the garden, every secret meeting with that sketchy lawyer on 5th Street, every time you tried to convince my children their mother was losing her mind." Van's expression shifts from anger to calculation. "Christine, honey, you're not thinking clearly." "Stop!" My voice could freeze hell. "You don't get to do that anymore. You don't get to gaslight me or manipulate me or pretend you're concerned about my mental health." "Mom?" We all turn to see Amara walking up the path, her overnight bag slung over her shoulder. She looks tired but determined. "You shouldn't be here," Van snaps at her. "Actually," I say, closing the door to remove the chain and opening it fully, "she should. Come in, sweetheart." Amara slips past her father and aunt, coming to stand beside me in the foyer. "What are you doing?" Bella hisses. "I'm choosing," Amara says quietly. "I'm choosing the truth." I lead them all to the study, where Grandma used to hold court during family meetings. The leather chairs still smell like her perfume. "Remember when you first started dating Van?" I ask Bella, who stiffens. "Grandma took me aside and said, 'Watch how a person treats others when they think no one's looking.' I didn't understand then, but I do now." "What's that supposed to mean?" Van demands. I open my laptop and turn it around. On the screen is security footage from 2 weeks ago. Van and Bella in the garden, planning how to convince Ethan to testify about my unstable behavior. "She was recording us?" Bella whispers. "She was protecting me," I correct her. "She knew what you were capable of. Both of you." "You can't prove anything," Van says, but his voice wavers. I pull out my grandmother's journal. Not the one they saw yesterday, but her real one. "Actually, I can. Grandma documented everything too, including the night you tried to pressure her into changing her will." Bella stands up so fast her chair tips over. "You're lying!" "Mom!" Amara's voice is small. "Is that why Dad started sleeping in the guest room last month? Because of the will?" The look Van gives her is answer enough. "I want you both out of my house," I say, standing up. "Lillian has already filed for a restraining order. Any attempts to contact me should go through her office." "You can't do this," Bella says, but she's backing toward the door. "We're family. Family!" I laugh, but there's no humor in it. Family doesn't try to have someone committed for money. Family doesn't manipulate children against their mother. Family doesn't betray trust for greed. After they leave, Amara collapses onto the sofa, tears streaming down her face. "I'm so sorry, Mom. I should have seen it sooner." I sit beside her, pulling her close. "You saw it when it mattered." My phone buzzes. A text from Ethan. "Is it true? About Dad and Aunt Bella?" I show Amara the message. "Should I send him the footage?" She wipes her eyes and nods. He deserves to know the truth too. I send the video, then open Grandma's journal to a page I've read 100 times. Trust is earned, not given. And once broken, it's like a mirror. You can fix it, but you'll always see the cracks. Looking at my daughter, I add, but sometimes the cracks let in the light we need to see clearly. Outside, I hear Van's car start up and drive away. The sound of it fading feels like freedom. They're planning something, Lillian says, spreading documents across her desk. Your husband's been making calls to every high-profile lawyer in the city. I sip my coffee, watching rain streak down the office windows. Let me guess. They all turned him down? Most of them. Lillian smirks. Amazing how many attorneys suddenly remember urgent appointments when they hear your grandmother's name. My phone lights up with a text from Ethan. Can we meet, alone? I show Lillian the message. She frowns. Be careful, Van might be using him. I have to try. I text back a time and place, the coffee shop where I used to take him after soccer practice. Neutral ground. Before you go, Lillian pulls out a yellowed envelope. There's something else. Your grandmother left this with explicit instructions not to open it until, and I quote, the vultures show their feathers. My hands shake slightly as I open it. Inside is a single sheet of paper, a contract dated 30 years ago, signed by my grandmother and Bella's father. Oh my God, I whisper, scanning the contents. Does Bella know about this? I doubt it. This could change everything. I carefully fold the paper and tuck it into my bag. Let's hold on to this, for now. At the coffee shop, I spot Ethan immediately. He looks smaller somehow, hunched over a cup of coffee, his college hoodie wrinkled like he's been sleeping in it. Mom? He stands when he sees me, then stops, uncertain. It's okay, I say, pulling him into a hug. He resists for a moment, before collapsing into it like he used to when he was little. I messed up. He mumbles into my shoulder. Dad kept saying you were sick, that you needed help, and Sit! I guide him back to his chair. Tell me everything. He takes a shaky breath. It started about 2 months ago. Dad and Aunt Bella kept having these private conversations. They said you were acting erratic, paranoid, that the inheritance had changed you. And you believed them? I didn't want to. He stares into his coffee. But then Dad showed me bank statements, said you were moving money around suspiciously. Aunt Bella had this whole file of evidence, photos of you talking to yourself in Grandma's garden, notes about weird phone calls. Did you ever see me doing these things yourself? He looks up, realization dawning. No, it was always something they said they saw. What changed your mind? The video you sent. His hands clench around his cup. And I found something in Dad's office last night. He pulls out his phone, showing me a photo of a document. It's a draft of power of attorney papers, dated weeks before my birthday. They were planning it for months, he says quietly, using me and Amara to make their case stronger. Dad even. He swallows hard. He even promised to pay for law school if I testified against you. Oh, honey. I reach across the table, taking his hand. You're not the first person to be manipulated by someone you trust. How can you be so calm about this? I think about the envelope in my bag, about all the pieces falling into place. Because your grandmother taught me to play the long game. Speaking of which, I pull out my own phone. Listen to this. I play a recording from last Christmas. Van and Bella in the garden, discussing how to pressure Grandma into changing her will before she died. Ethan's face goes pale. That's why she left everything to you, isn't it? She knew. She knew a lot of things. I pause, considering my next words carefully. Including something about your Aunt Bella that's going to change everything. What do you mean? Not yet. First, I need to know, are you with me? Really with me? Because what happens next won't be easy. He straightens up, and for a moment, I see the man he's becoming rather than the boy he was. I'm with you, Mom, all the way. Good. I show him the envelope. Because tomorrow, we're having a family meeting. And this time, I'm the one setting the trap. As we leave the coffee shop, Ethan hugs me again. I'm sorry I didn't trust you. Ralt, trust isn't about never making mistakes, I tell him, remembering Grandma's words. It's about what you do after you realize you've made them. My phone buzzes. A text from Lillian. Van just filed an emergency petition for conservatorship, meeting tomorrow at 9 a.m. I smile, showing Ethan the message. Right on schedule. They don't know about the envelope, do they? No, I say, thinking of Bella's face when she learns the truth. They don't know about a lot of things, but they will. The conference room at Lillian's law firm feels too small for the amount of tension it contains. Van sits across from me, his new lawyer fidgeting with his tie. Bella's there too, her perfect manicure tapping an anxious rhythm on the mahogany table. Before we begin, Van's lawyer starts, my client wants to emphasize that this action comes from a place of love and concern. Save it, Lillian interrupts, sliding copies of a document across the table. We have more pressing matters to discuss. I watch Bella's face as she reads, enjoying the moment her carefully applied makeup can't hide her growing panic. This is impossible, she whispers. What? Van grabs the paper. His eyes widen. What the hell is this? That, I say quietly, is a contract between Grandma and your father, Bella, dated 30 years ago, when he was desperate for money to save his business. Bella's hands are shaking. No, Dad would have told me. Would he? I lean forward. Would he have told you that he borrowed against his inheritance? That he signed away his entire claim to the estate? That technically, you've never had any legal right to challenge my inheritance because your father sold his share 3 decades ago? Van's lawyer is frantically flipping through his files. This changes everything. If this document is authentic. It is, Lillian confirms. Notarized, witnessed, and ironclad. You knew, Bella's voice rises hysterically. You knew all along and you let us make fools of ourselves. No, Bella. You did that all on your own. I pull out my grandmother's journal. Should we talk about the real estate agent you contacted about selling the house? Or the moving company you hired to clear out Grandma's belongings while I was supposed to be in that facility? Van's lawyer stands up. We need to confer. Sit down, Van snaps. This isn't over. Actually, Ethan's voice comes from the doorway. It is. Everyone turns as my son walks in, followed by Amara. They both carry folders. What are you doing here? Van demands. Telling the truth, Amara says, her voice stronger than I've ever heard it. We have copies of everything, the fake medical reports, the backdated bank statements, the scripts you gave us about Mom's episodes. Ethan drops his folder on the table. Including the promise to pay for my law school if I testified against Mom. That's witness tampering, isn't it? Van's lawyer is already packing his briefcase. I can no longer represent. You can't do this. Bella stands up so fast her chair crashes backward. We're family. Family? I stand too, matching her stance. Let me tell you about family, Bella. Family isn't plotting to have someone committed. Family isn't manipulating children against their mother. Family isn't forging documents and stealing inheritances. Everything I did, she snarls, I did because you didn't deserve it. You were always her favorite, always the perfect one. No, I cut her off. I was the one who cared, the one who visited when she was sick, the one who learned about her life instead of just waiting for her death. Van tries one last time. Christine, be reasonable. I am being reasonable. I pull out one final document. This is a restraining order. You'll both be served officially this afternoon. Any further contact needs to go through our lawyers. You can't just throw away 22 years of marriage. You did that when you chose money over our family. I turn to my children. Let's go home. As we walk out, Bella calls after me. You'll regret this. I pause at the door. No, Bella. The only thing I regret is not seeing who you really were sooner. In the elevator, Amara breaks down crying. Ethan puts an arm around her shoulders. Did you see Dad's face? She sobs. Like we betrayed him? Hey, I take her hand. You didn't betray anyone. You chose truth over lies. That takes more courage than anything they did. What happens now? Ethan asks as we reach the lobby. My phone buzzes. A text from Lillian. They're calling an emergency family meeting at their house. Want me to send someone to record it? I show them the message. Now? Now we watch them realize exactly how badly they underestimated us. All of us, Amara adds, wiping her eyes. All of us, I agree, thinking of Grandma's words in her journal. The truth doesn't always come out in grand revelations. Sometimes it's in the small moments, the quiet choices, the steady resistance against those who would bury it. Outside, the sun is shining. For the first time in months, I feel like I can breathe freely. Who's hungry? I ask. I know a great place for lunch. As we walk away from the law firm, I hear Bella's angry voice floating down from an upper window. But it doesn't matter anymore. She can't hurt us now. The truth is finally out, and we're finally free. They're selling their house, Amara announces at breakfast, scrolling through her phone. Dad just listed it this morning. It's been 2 weeks since the confrontation at Lillian's office. 2 weeks of blessed silence, broken only by legal communications and the occasional angry text that goes straight to my blocked messages folder. Good, Ethan says around a mouthful of toast. Maybe they'll move far away? They won't, I reply, pouring more coffee. Bella's too obsessed with what she thinks she's lost. As if on cue, my phone rings. Lillian's number. We have a situation, she says without preamble. Your sister broke into the house last night. I sit up straight. What? Security cameras caught her trying to access your grandmother's safe in the study. Police are there now. I'm on my way. I grab my keys, signaling the kids to follow. When we arrive, 2 police cars are parked in the driveway. Through the front window, I can see Bella sitting on the sofa, mascara streaked down her face, while officers take her statement. She claims she was just collecting personal items, Officer Martinez tells me outside. Says she has a right to family heirlooms. The only thing she has a right to is a jail cell, Ethan mutters. Inside, Bella looks up as we enter. Come to gloat? No, I say, taking in her disheveled appearance. I came to understand why. Why? She laughs bitterly. Because this house should have been half mine. Because Dad needed that money 30 years ago to save our family, and she held it over him forever. Because you're living in luxury while my husband left me last week. Wait! Amara steps forward. Uncle Rick left? Don't pretend you care, Bella snaps. None of you ever cared about anyone but yourselves. I walk to Grandma's desk and open the top drawer, pulling out an envelope I've been saving. That's not true. Here's proof. She stares at the envelope suspiciously. What is this? Open it. Inside are bank statements, dozens of them, spanning 3 decades. Each one shows regular payments from my grandmother to Bella's father. I don't understand, she whispers. Grandma never held the loan over Dad's head. I explain gently. She helped him repay it, in secret, so he wouldn't lose face with his family. Every month for 30 years, she made sure his business stayed afloat. Bella's hands tremble as she flips through the statements. But he always said, he lied. I sit beside her, aware of the officers watching closely. He lied because it was easier than admitting he needed help. And you believed him because it was easier than seeing the truth about who Grandma really was. Why are you showing me this now? Because you need to understand. This was never about money. It was about trust, about seeing people for who they really are. Officer Martinez clears his throat. Ma'am, we still need to discuss the break-in. I look at Bella, really look at her. She seems smaller somehow, the designer clothes and perfect makeup unable to hide her desperation. I won't press charges, I say finally, on one condition. Name it, she says quickly. Get help, real help. Not for me, not for the estate, but for yourself. Amara steps forward. I know a good therapist. She helped me understand everything. Bella looks at her niece, then back at me. For the first time in years, I see a glimmer of my sister instead of the angry stranger she'd become. Why would you help me, after everything? Because Grandma taught me that healing is more important than winning. I stand up. Officers, thank you for your time, but I won't be filing a report. After the police leave, we sit in awkward silence until Ethan speaks up. Dad's selling the house. I know, Bella says quietly. He's moving to Florida with his secretary. Classy, Amara mutters. I should go. Bella stands, straightening her wrinkled blouse. I'm sorry about this. All of this. Here, I hand her a business card. This is my therapist's number. Call her, please. She takes it, then pauses at the door. Christine? That thing Grandma used to say about mirrors and trust. That once broken, you'll always see the cracks? Yeah. She looks down at the card. Do they ever go away, the cracks? No, I say honestly, but sometimes they make the reflection more interesting, more real. After she leaves, Ethan helps the officers check all the windows while Amara makes coffee. Do you think she'll actually get help? She asks. I look at the security footage on my phone. Bella sitting in her car, staring at the therapist's card. I hope so, I say. Sometimes hitting rock bottom is the only way to start climbing back up. Speaking of climbing, Ethan calls from the study. Someone tried to crack Grandma's safe. Should we check what's inside? I smile, remembering what Grandma told me about that safe. Not yet, that's for another day. Are you sure you want to do this today? Lillian asks, watching me input the combination to Grandma's safe. It's been a month since Bella's break-in attempt, and I've finally decided it's time. No time like the present, I say, though my fingers shake slightly on the dial. Besides, the kids deserve to know what's in here. Amara and Ethan sit on the leather couch, while Lillian stands by the window. The morning sun catches the dust motes in the air, making them dance like tiny stars. The safe clicks open. That's it? Ethan leans forward. Just one envelope? I pull out the thick manila envelope, my grandmother's elegant handwriting visible on the front. For Christine? When the time is right. Should we leave? Lillian asks. No. I break the seal. Stay, please. Inside are 3 items: a letter, a USB drive, and a smaller envelope labeled For Bella. Read it out loud, Amara says softly. I unfold the letter, recognizing the paper from Grandma's favorite stationery set. My dearest Christine, if you're reading this, then everything I feared has come to pass. Your sister and husband have shown their true colors, and you've had to fight to protect what's yours. I'm sorry for the pain this has caused, but I'm not sorry for choosing you as my heir. You see, this house holds more than just memories. For 40 years, I've been collecting evidence of financial fraud committed by your father-in-law's company, fraud that Van helped cover up when he started working there 15 years ago. I stop reading, my hands shaking. What? Lillian takes the USB drive. This explains why Van was so desperate to get control of the estate. He knew what your grandmother had. I continue reading. The USB drive contains everything: documents, emails, recorded conversations. I've kept it safe, waiting for the right moment. That moment is now yours to choose. But before you decide what to do with this information, there's something else you need to know. The envelope marked for Bella contains proof that your father-in-law was embezzling money from her father's business all those years ago. The loan your uncle needed? It was because Van's father had been stealing from him for years. Van knows this. It's why he married you, to keep close to the family, to watch for any sign that I might expose the truth. Oh my God, Amara whispers. Dad married you to spy on you? My hands are steady now, anger replacing shock. All these years. Keep reading, Ethan urges. I'm giving you these choices, Christine, because you understand that justice and revenge aren't always the same thing. You can use this information to destroy them legally, or you can choose a different path. Whatever you decide, remember this. True power isn't in what we know, but in how we use what we know. All my love, Grandma P.S. Check behind the loose brick in the garden wall. Consider it my final surprise. The room falls silent. The garden wall? Ethan stands up. We have to look. Wait. I hold up Bella's envelope. First, we need to make a decision. Lillian examines the USB drive. This is enough evidence to put Van and his father in prison for a very long time. Mom! Amara's voice is small. What are you going to do? I think about Bella, about her desperate break-in, about the text she sent last week saying she'd started therapy. Call your aunt, I say finally. Tell her to meet us here in an hour. Are you sure? Lillian asks. Grandma's right. This isn't about revenge anymore. I stand up, tucking both envelopes into my pocket. It's about justice and healing. An hour later, Bella arrives, looking better than she has in weeks. Her eyes are clear, her hands steady. What's this about? She asks. I hand her the envelope. The truth about why Dad needed that loan. The real reason Van married me. Everything. She reads in silence, her face growing paler with each page. When she finishes, she looks up with tears in her eyes. What do we do now? That depends, I say, holding up the USB drive. Are you ready to face the whole truth? Together? She takes a deep breath, then nods. Together. Good. I turn to Ethan. Now, about that garden wall. We all head outside, the morning sun warming our faces. As Ethan pries loose the brick, I think about Grandma's words about power and knowledge. Whatever we find, whatever we decide to do with the evidence, one thing is clear. The truth really does set you free. But first, it shows you exactly who you are. Behind the loose brick, we find a small metal box. Inside is a key and a handwritten note. For the beach house you never knew about. Beach house? Bella's hands shake as she reads the address. In Newport? The summer cottage, I breathe. The one she always talked about but never showed us. We drive there together. Me, Bella, the kids, and Lillian. The cottage sits on a quiet stretch of beach, waves crashing against the shore. It's smaller than I expected, weathered but well-maintained. Look at this! Ethan calls from the kitchen. He's found another letter taped to the fridge. My dears, I read aloud, if you're reading this together, then there's hope. This house isn't part of the estate. It's separate, purchased with my own money before any of you were born. I'm leaving it to both my girls, jointly, because sometimes the best way forward is to build something new together. The USB drive you found? Use it wisely. Remember that justice without mercy is just another form of cruelty. Love, Grandma. Bella sinks into a chair. Even now, she's teaching us. My phone buzzes. A text from Van. The SEC is investigating the company. What did you do? I didn't do anything. I show Bella the message. Yet. She takes a deep breath. We could destroy them all. Dad, Van, everyone who lied to us. We could, I agree. Or, I pull out the USB drive. Or we give them a choice. The same choice Grandma gave us. To face the truth and try to make it right. Amara opens the sliding door, letting in the sound of waves. What about the cottage? I look at Bella. For the first time in years, I see my sister instead of my rival. Want to fix it up together? She wipes her eyes. I'd like that. First things first, Lillian interrupts, holding up her phone. Van and your father-in-law are calling an emergency board meeting. They know something's coming. Then let's give them something, I say, pulling out my laptop. But we do this my way. The next morning, in the company's boardroom, Van's face goes pale as I walk in with Bella and Lillian. What are you doing here? Offering you a choice. I place the USB drive on the table. Full confession, resignation, and restitution. Or we take this to the FBI. You're bluffing. His father stands up. You have nothing. Lillian starts playing the recordings. Decades of fraud laid bare in their own voices. Your call, Bella says quietly. But remember, Mom knew. All those years, she knew what you did to Dad's business, to our family. Van looks at the USB drive, then at me. Why give us a choice at all? Because Grandma taught me that true strength isn't about destroying people, it's about giving them the chance to choose a better path. I stand up. You have until tomorrow to decide. They chose confession. Van and his father resigned, paid back what they'd stolen, and avoided prison in exchange for cooperation. The company survived, barely. At the cottage, Bella and I sit on the deck, watching Ethan and Amara chase waves. I found an old photo album inside, she says. Pictures of us here as kids. I don't even remember coming here. We were too young, I reply. But Grandma remembered. She kept this place for us, hoping we'd find our way back to being sisters. Do you think we can? Really? I think about the past few months. The betrayal, the pain, but also the healing. I think we already are. My phone buzzes. The divorce papers are final. I delete the notification without opening it. Hey! Bella points to a loose board on the deck. Another hiding spot? We pry it up together, finding one last note. The real inheritance was never about money. It was about learning to see clearly, choose wisely, and love fiercely. Take care of each other. Gee. She planned everything, Bella laughs through tears. Not everything, I say, watching our children on the beach. She gave us the tools, but we chose how to use them. The sun sets over the water, painting the sky in colors Grandma would have loved. Tomorrow, we'll start renovating the cottage. Tomorrow, we'll continue rebuilding our relationship. Tomorrow will bring new challenges and choices. But today, sitting here with my sister, watching our children play on the beach our grandmother loved, I understand what she meant about mirrors and cracks and healing. Sometimes the broken pieces make something more beautiful than what was there before. Want to go for a walk? I ask Bella. She takes my hand, squeezing it like she used to when we were girls. Together? Together.